Hello, Flora. Good morning. Okay, today I'm going to talk a little bit about honeybees, and by addressing a couple of main problems that they have, the indifference and lack of awareness of those problems in our society today, and what those main problems are in general. So one of the problems that honeybees have are the overall negative stigma that they have from people in general. You know, the stinger is dangerous, stay away. But one of the things is that honeybees in general, especially the European kind, which we have, don't sting unless you're being invaded on. And the African honeybee is actually the one that does. So I want to increase that awareness. This graph shows the population decline currently, which is another problem that honeybees are having. It's called a colony collapse disorder. And it's become a really big problem with hives internationally. It's become a really large concern, especially with our intensive agriculture system that we have today. Okay, why are honeybees important to us specifically, not just the natural environment? Well, they're worth about $15 to $20 billion of our economy and revenue, and they also pollinate at least 1/3 of our crops today. That's 100+ crops total. So they are a huge contributor to our food supply. So these problems are mainly happening in intensive agriculture areas thanks to pesticides. So for my site, I'm choosing a site that is based around either historically or current agricultural systems today. And I am narrowing it down between San Jose and Sacramento area. Another contributing factor that I'm choosing to determine my site are urban agricultural trends that are happening today, which this is applied in Sacramento right now. And if we want to continue this trend that's happening, we're going to need honeybees to supply that trend. Urban beehives are already happening today. There's lots of collectives happening. It's definitely happening in Sacramento even, but they are very object oriented. They're just placing hives on either roofs or backyards or whatnot, but they're not really a huge community oriented project. It's more specific. So I'm proposing 2 design mitigations specifically, one including a habitat corridor for bees and pollinators, as well as periodic nodes along the bee corridor that are very similar to parklets or very small plazas that are related to bee architecture and bee patterns, such as the hexagon that we see a lot. So these nodes are kind of basically inspired by the Magic School Bus, where it's very interactive and you're getting education of a species, whether it be a bee or a bat, that has this very negative stigma, but it's in a very fun way, in an interactive way, and it's different than what is out there now. There's something really beautiful about just insect architecture in general, but especially bee architecture. The hexagon is like specific to it, and we have so many things that in architecture that we based it off of. It's just this really unique subject. So that is one of the inspirations why I wanted to create this sort of bee architecture parklet. These are a few examples that we have had now. I mean, it can range anything from a wine holder to social interactions in a business office to housing units to the full scale of business buildings. So it can really be taken in many different forms. So now I'm just going to go over a few little examples of what's been done for habitat and architecture for bees and other animals already. This was a design competition in Buffalo, New York, where students had to, at a certain site, create these bee habitats. This was the winner. It's called Bee Elevator. Essentially, it's this very large bee tower that people can walk through. You can see a little door entrance over there, and you look up, and there's this glass pane with the bee hive above you, and it can be pulled down so it can be collected, honey can be collected, and more interactive with the people around it. And this is a high-rise, the bee high-rise also in Buffalo, New York, where they essentially created a new beehive system rather than top-down pulling out the honeycomb. It's from sides and the top, so you can stack it in multiple levels to address this more urbanized situation that beehive would be in. This is a design by Philip Design. They call it the urban beehive. It's a very small scale beehive, specifically for just education. And it's essentially an entrance at a flower pot, and the bees can go in, and the glass refracts light at the wavelength that bees can see. So it's essentially just an is the Vulcan, urban beehive in Norway. This is at a food court on top of some roofs, and it was inspired heavily by the bee architecture and bee patterns, and the scale was designed for beekeepers to be able to get into it more easily, and it's very attractive. This is an example of a non-bee related urban intervention, but it's for bats. It's called the Bat Cloud. It's also in Buffalo, New York, and it is essentially taking elements that bats need for habitat and also using the guano and collecting that. So it's kind of like this very cyclic loop. I think that's the word. We're already doing this now, creating these habitats and creating this kind of interactive educational at the same time with butterfly and bird houses, essentially. There's so many different kinds. So why aren't we doing that with bees now? So there's some really large opportunities with that. We're also doing it already with zoos. This is the North Carolina Zoo bee exhibit where you can interact and go through these honeycomb structures. And it's very popular, and it's happening in multiple different zoos and theme parks and whatnot. Again, why does it have to be contained in this space? Why can't it be more in the community involvement? So again, I want to create this interactive educational system for people to enjoy bees and on a more community-oriented level. Thank you.